So the last time I put my PowerPoint into presentation mode, my computer locked up and canceled. So we're not going to do presentation mode. We're going to do just scrolling through. So welcome everybody. Welcome to March, SJREI. And we have a special guest appearing tonight from It's going to be great to have somebody from my market that I love doing rehabs. All right, SJREI, where deals happen. As you know, we make no endorsement, warranty, guarantee of any type with respect to any opinions, information, services, or products mentioned or promoted by any speaker, presenter, or sponsor. So, you know how I always say this at our meetings, if you make an investment and you make a profit, I'll let you keep it. If you make an investment and you lose your money, I'll let you keep that too. So just do your own due diligence. So our goal here is to provide education, networking, and inspiration so that you can make an impact on your life and future generations. So SJREI is where the deals happen. When we poll our attendees back when we were live, we had over 78% of our attendees that had done business with each other because of SJREI. So if you're looking to do deals, you're in the right place. So we've been talking about our project, our our San Carlos Commons project. This is our redevelopment project. You'll see the picture on the right-hand side is what it looks like right now. It's called Antique Row. The picture on the left-hand side is what we're proposing to the city to develop. It will be 6 stories on the front, and in the back right now it's drawn as 5 stories. We'll actually be going to 7 stories. The back building will be an assisted living building with 220 units. The front will have 61 condos and retail. Now, our participation in this is just the entitlement. And what entitlement means is that we control the land and we are taking it through the city and all of the different people that have information, like we call them stakeholders, where everybody gets to have a say in what they want to see. And our job as developers is to twist the model to make sure that we meet everybody's requirements. And once we have that, they give us this great big report that says, okay, now you can build it as long as you meet all these requirements. We then sell the land and those entitlements to 1 or 2 different developers that will build it. So we're not doing the building, we're simply doing the entitlement. We are doing a fundraise on this. We have 300,000 remaining of our 3 million. We've raised 2.7. So if you're interested in participating in something like this, or you want to discover more, just reach out to us and we'll see if you're approved to join the group and participate in this investment. We do anticipate, you know, anywhere from like a 17% return. And if you were to invest 500,000 or more, you could get up to a 32% return. Right now, we only have room for 500,000. I'm sorry, for 300,000. So we do have some upcoming events. I believe Jeff was talking about one of them. So the project management camp. I have joined forces with Rehab Depot to share the knowledge that I have and that Roddy has about rehabbing. So I've been rehabbing for many years, well over 20, and I have to tell you there are a lot of pieces to it that people don't pay attention to. And when I met Ryan, we call him Roddy, he organized all those pieces in a very palatable method, and he's coming at it from a GC standpoint. So I wanted to share with you guys, if you're out there doing rehabs and one, you want to be more effective, or two, you want to scale your business, this is a boot camp that you really need to be at. So there's a picture of Roddy. He's been a general contractor for over 16 years. He's been rehabbing and coaching investors, and he has systematically laid out the rehabbing process into manageable steps. During this boot camp, they're going to do it in Disney Springs, which is one of the Disney properties. It's open, so it's beautiful. In the 2 days, he's going to go over rehabbing 101, project management, time management, contracting 101, so that you understand what you're up against when you're dealing with contractors. He's going to talk about money and draw management. And then he provides plenty of opportunities to network with the other participants. So as a rehabber or flipper, you know, a lot of times we're out there and, you know, we're concerned about what are our colors, what's it going to look like? Or we're going into the process and we're analyzing the deal and, you know, how much is it going to cost to rehab? And we make our offer, we buy the property, and then we manage the rehab and we hope to make money. And if we don't manage the rehab well, that's a big point where we may not make money. But I think what a lot of rehabbers forget is all the stages and steps involved in a rehab. I always tell people that if you're going to manage a rehab, there's probably over 1,000 decisions that you need to make, and every decision is a point of risk. So it's important to understand that and to be a good decision maker and to have controls and manage your risk. So one of the things that Roddy covers is the different stages. You can see here we have it outlined in 7 stages and the different risk factors for each of those stages. There's over 50 steps to rehabbing a home. And with these steps, he goes through those. He has checklists for you. He tells you which team member on your team would be managing those steps to a successful rehab. You know, and one of the things that I was really interested in, you know, I always look at a deal and I go, okay, what's the risk of this deal? And I never really took that philosophy and asked myself, what's the risk of the rehab? But every rehab in of itself has a risk in addition to the risk of the deal. For example, geography. When you're looking at your deal and you're looking at managing your rehab, have you considered the geography of how far each project is from the other? And with you having a project manager, how often do you want them to hit every job? And how much traffic are they going to be in? So there's risk with that. You know, how much time is involved? Where is the location? Who is the contractor? What's the budget? How's the funding? The time of year, quality control. And one thing that we're hitting now is supply chain, right? I don't know if you've tried to order appliances lately, but it's taken quite a while to get our appliances in. So these are all risks that are related to the rehab that need to be managed. And these are the type of topics that are covered in this boot camp. So if you're interested in going, you can register online. It is limited because it is in person. It's limited to the number of people. So sign up quickly, sjrei.org/rehab. And if you are not comfortable traveling right now, we are offering a virtual. You won't have the networking opportunities, but you can still get the content. So if you head out to that same website, you can attend virtually also. So, in addition to that, we have a free education with Clint Coons and Toby Mathis. This is Anderson Advisors. You know that I love Anderson Advisors. They're great for setting up entities. They're one of the firms that understands, I call it the 3 legs of the stool. It's how to get asset protection, how to manage for your taxes, and how to run your business for your profit. You know, they manage all 3 legs of that stool. So it's basically 6 events in one. You're going to learn about liability reduction, business structuring, legacy, retirement strategies, asset protection, and tax reduction. And it's important to start paying attention how to reduce taxes because that is your #1 expense. So for that, you can go to sjrei.org taxes. Hopefully we made that easy for you. Okay, and then coming up in April, you'll want to make sure and register for that also because we're bringing in Ed O'Donnell. He's going to talk about the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So I know a couple of you have reached out and said that's what you want to learn. So we're going to go ahead and bring Ed in and have him discuss that. And that brings us to our guest speaker tonight, who is staying up extra late for us, and we're very honored. So we have Stacy with us, and she has been investing in real estate. She's been doing the Atlanta market for a while. She told me she's done doing rehabs. She may be a rehabber at heart, but she's done doing rehabs, maybe her personal residence. But she learned a way to invest passively, and she goes out and finds ugly duckling storage units, and she's going to share her knowledge with you. So let's welcome her to our stage. Yay!
Hello, thank you. All right, get started. We're ready?
You're on. Yes.
Okay. All right, so can you take your screen off so we can do full screen and then?
Done, yes.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. All right. Should I pin myself?
You should pin yourself. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Everybody's getting used to Zoom now. I'm like, let me pin myself. Let me record. Let me do this. Back, a year ago, I was like, I need to take some Zoom webinars to like figure this Zoom thing out, right? Now I'm like, bang, bang, boom. Just delegate it to my team too. Okay. All right. So I am old school. All right. This is how I teach y'all. Okay. So I just don't do presentations. I just can't do slides. It's just too much work. Now that I'm doing passive income, it's like the more I invest in passive income, the lazier I get. Right. So that's what everybody wants, right? Okay, all right, so thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. My name is Stacy Rossetti. I am in the North Georgia mountains. I live in the North Georgia mountains, so it is now 10:24 p.m. here. All right, so I'll be up teaching y'all till midnight tonight. Actually, I've never done this before, so if I fall asleep, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I have been investing in real estate since 2011. So 10 years, and I started out like most of you guys, I started out wholesaling and rehabbing, right? And what happened is I got pregnant. That's what happened, all right? I had a baby, all right? So as a mother, I was one of those crazy people that did like 15 rehabs at a time. And when I got pregnant, I was actually doing 15 rehabs, and I had 15 rehabs in the pipeline. Okay, so it was nuts. All right, so I know Lori totally knows what I'm talking about. I was running I had a team. I had GCs managing everything and project managers and all this kind of stuff. But it's still like it's just nuts, right? And so when I got pregnant, essentially in my mind as a woman, as a mother to be, I was thinking, how am I going to be doing 15 rehabs and have all these other rehabs and like take care of this baby? There's just no way. There's no way to do this. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, you can do all these rehabs and just go do your own thing and stuff. But I've done 15 rehabs. I know how much work it is to do that. So I started like freaking out a little bit, right? And I told my husband, I was like, that is it. We're not buying any more rehabs. That's it. We're done. I was like, we have no passive income. In fact, for the first 5 years that I started investing in real estate, We didn't do any passive income. We didn't look for any passive income. Now, there were a couple of deals that came across my plate that were like creative deal structures, that were like owner financing with like 0 down and all this kind of stuff. So I did have a couple of properties, but those were just like, my rule was if somebody wanted me to give their property to me for free, I would take it, right? But other than that, I was just like, I want those $20, $30, $40, $50,000 checks every single month. That's what I wanted, right? In my mind. And so I didn't think about passive income. So then of course I had this little baby girl, and then of course everything changed. Everything changed. And her name is Lillian. Her name is Lillian, and she will be 5 on Easter. Her birthday this year is on Easter Day. So she was born on April 4th. And actually, you guys can all check me out, all right? Because I own Miss Lillian's self-storage, okay? Which is misslillians.com. All right, so every single facility that we buy is all for her. Right? We put them all in trusts. This just for her. We take her to the facilities, and then she's like, I'm bored. And she's like, can I watch Peppa Pig? Essentially, that's what happens when we take her to the storage facilities. All right. And I'm like, this is your life. This is your dream. We are going to hand all these facilities over to you when you become 18. And she's just like, can I watch Peppa Pig? That's basically how our life is. But again, so you can go to misslillians.com. Actually, it's Miss Lillians without a period. Sorry. No period. Miss Lillian self-storage is what it's called. Okay. We have 8 facilities is what we have. We have about 800 doors, something like this. Okay. You do not, in the self-storage investing world, you do not talk about doors. All right. That is a multi-family thing. That is not a self-storage thing. So we want to learn to be storage nerds, right? So you guys start talking the lingo. The lingo is what is your total square footage? What is your total square footage? So when you start getting in the self-storage investing world, they're going to be like, oh, what's your total square footage? You know, and they're going to say, and then also when you're researching to find where you want to put your storage facilities, I'm always asking my acquisitions person, what's the population? What's the population of the town? So really population and square footage and cap rate. What's the cap rate? What's the cap rate? There's like the 3 things that we're talking about inside our office all the time. What's the cap rate on that? What's the total square footage? And we'll get into that a little bit later tonight. But anyway, so yeah, I got pregnant, and then everything changed. And then all of a sudden, I started thinking about passive income. I wanted to be able to stay home and be with my daughter and make money and be able to travel and do all the things that I could with her. And that's really kind of just how it started it all. Now, I was doing all these rehabs. I was 100% privately funded, and because I bought rehabs, right? So, and I just got, I got good at what I was doing, and I started, getting good at raising money. And so we were privately funded. All right. So what I had to do is convince my lenders, right, once I finished a rehab, to just roll that money right into a storage facility. That's basically kind of how I started out. As I was like, hey, now we've got a couple $100,000. We just finished this rehab. You're going to get it. Is it okay if we just go out and buy something else that's not a rehab? And that's basically how it worked for me. And that's why I buy mismanaged facilities. And I'm gonna talk about the 5 different ways for you to invest in self-storage tonight, so everybody has an idea about it. And one of those is mismanaged facilities. That's what I focus on. I focused on mismanaged facilities. Okay, so yeah, I started focusing on passive income. So what I did is I told my realtor, I said, I don't want to buy any houses anymore. I have one realtor that I've worked with for 10 years. Okay. So he's bought he did like most of my houses. And this is back in the day when you could find houses on the MLS and you could just put offers in, and it was awesome. Right. And so I was like, I need to start looking for passive income. I was like, send me anything that you got that's passive income. So he started sending me like multifamily stuff. I was looking at multifamily in like 2015, 2016, 2017, when like nobody wanted to buy multifamily. That's when I was looking at it. But they were all just like huge rehabs. And I just did not want to do any more rehabs. I started looking at like portfolios of houses. And I was like, well, I could just like roll all this money over and then just buy these like, 20 houses here and stuff. But I just honestly, I was so tired of houses. I was so tired of rehabs and all the work and stuff. I was just like not in the mood to buy any houses. I was like, you got to dig deeper, Richard. You got to dig deeper. So luckily, he found a storage facility that happened to be like 20 minutes from my house. He's like, well, what about this? He's like, this thing has been sitting on the market for 5 years. This is back in the day when things used to sit on the market for 5 years. All right. So nothing like that happens anymore. Right. But this storage facility had been sitting on the market for 5 years, and it was called Big John's Storage Facility. I was like, Big John. I was like, let me drive over to Big John's and take a look. So I drove over and I took a look, and Big John's, to me, I drove up to the gate. And when I got to the gate, on the left side of the gate was like 200 tires. Right? Just like people had just basically dumped all these tires there. And I drove up and I was like, I love this place so much. I just fell in love with it. As a rehabber, driving up to an ugly, dumpy storage facility is kind of like a dream come true, right? And so I kind of just like peeked in. I tried to look as much as I could, and the place was a dump. Okay. So it looked like this. So I drove in. Here's the street. Here's the storage facility, and it's all fenced in, kind of like this, okay? And then all this is all like units, and all this around here, this is all parking. So it's not only was it units, but it was also parking as well, okay? Now, Big John, he built this thing in 1980. It was now 2017, okay? He was tired of this thing. He told me 10 years ago he was tired of it, and he'd just been holding on to this thing, and he was just tired of it, right? And I'm going to tell y'all, there's a lot of storage facilities out there like this, but you got to know where to find them, and you got to know how to look, all right? Which we'll get into tonight. But anyway, so basically Big John was like, you want a parking spot? Go find a parking spot. Wherever you want, just go find a parking spot. And so you would see like, and this was in an industrial area. Okay, it's an industrial area. So it's kind of like, it's a nice town and stuff, but it's like little industrial part, right? And so you would see like the parking was like big rigs, tow trucks, box trucks, dump trucks, right? That's what he was parking here. This is what he was parking, okay? And so he just was like, go find a parking spot. And like, I looked in and I was like, what in the hell is going on with this place? I have no idea, but I love it and I want to buy it. All right. And I already knew it had been sitting on the market for $500,000. He was trying to buy it for $500K. All right. And he was trying to sell it for $500K. It had 64 units of 10 by 10s. 64 10 by 10s is what it has, okay? And that's the type here where you can take out the middle part if you wanted. You can make it into a 20 by 10, right? Most of the time, everybody wants either a 10 by 10 or a 20 by 10. That's what they want, right? So if you're thinking about building, I mean, that's what you really should be focusing on, all right? So 64 10 by 10s, okay? Now, I met Big John. Big John was like 88 years old, okay? And his wife wants to move to Florida and retire, okay? And so, and I knew when I drove over and I took a look at this place, I already knew I was going to buy this thing. And so I invited my lender to come with me. And I brought my husband, and I brought my daughter, and I brought my realtor, and we all went over and we met Big John. And we walked the property, and it was just a dump. It was a dump. Not only was there like 200 tires here, there was probably another 1,000 tires all around the place. I called EPA when I bought the building. I called EPA and I told them, I said, this place has like 1,000 tires here. And they were like, what? And it took like 2 years for EPA to come out and clean it up. But they cleaned it up for free. All right. And because that would have cost me, like, I was like, maybe I'll get rid of like a couple of these tires over here, make it look a little better. And I got rid of like 100 tires and it cost me like a couple $1,000s. I was like, screw that. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I said, so I called EPA and I had them come out, and they came out a couple of times and they were just like shocked. And then they were like, we're going to come. And then their whole crew came out and took them all away and stuff. So now there's like no tires anyway. It's awesome. But anyway, so we walked this property, and he, like, Big John told us a story. 1980, it was built, did great, awesome. This is his, his side business. He has a main business, which is HVAC, commercial HVAC. And so essentially what I'm saying is that when you find mismanaged properties, when you find sellers like this, which I'm telling you, every single one of my sellers is exactly like this. This is a connection, building rapport, unmotivated seller. So this is not send them a letter and try to get them to sell your business. This is I'm going to walk the property and spend 2 hours with them listening to their life story is what it is. All right. And that's what we did. We walked the property, and then he took me to his office, which is off the property. He actually had he has his HVAC office is right here, and it's still here. And so we walked to his office, and his office was a dump. And of course, and he sat down at his desk, and I said, Big John, I said, okay, John, I was like, I need to see your numbers. I need to see tell me what you're making. Tell me how much you're making right now. And he said, I'm making around $2,300 a month. $2,300, okay? Now, when I walked this property, I was mentally counting how many lanes I could actually park here, because he was not utilizing it like that. All right. So I was mentally walking around and trying to figure out, and I told my husband, I was like, figure out how many parking spaces we can have. He probably had 30 cars, like, and big rigs and everything just all over the place. And these lanes are 10 by 60 for us because they're big rigs. We park big. I park big rigs. That's what I park. I park big rigs. Okay. I got dump trucks and big rigs and tow trucks. That's what we do. Okay. And we counted, as we walked around, we counted 50 spots is what we did. We said we could get at least, now we have actually 60 spots in here. We got 60 spots in the end now, but in the beginning it's okay, we can get at least 50 spots in. So we counted 50 parking spots and 64 10 by 10s. Okay. And he told us he was charging $35 for each 10 by 10. Okay. So what's 35 times 60? Somebody tell me in the chat, because I'm tired. It's 1039 here. 35 times 64. Sorry, 35 times 64. What's that? Who knows?
2240. 2240.
2240. Okay, so 2240. Now charge $50, or actually this is as is. He had 30 spots, and for his parking, he was charging $35. $35. So he had 30 spots of $35. What's that? Somebody tell me. 95? No. I have no idea. What's 30 times 35?
1,050.
1,050.
1,050. Okay, good. So 1,050 plus 2240 is 3,290. 3,290 total is what he said he should have been making, right? I mean, this is what he should have making. He told me he was making $2,300 a month, $2,300. And I was like, just as is, he should be making $3,200. So that in my brain was like, there's something going on here, right? And granted, I have no idea about self-storage investing in this. I have no idea about anything. I just know that this is a good opportunity. All right. So $32.90 is what he should have been making. He was making $2,300. I asked him, I said, John, I was like, are you full? Like, what's going on with all the parking? It looked full to me. It was like packed full, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm full. And I was like, if you were full, then you should be making $32.90, not $2,300. I said, what's going on? He said, oh yeah, I'm full. Nobody's paying, but I'm full. That's what he said. And I was like, yes, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So we went to his office, walked over to his office, and I said, show me your numbers. I want to see your numbers, all right? And he went into his drawer and he pulled out a ledger, a little brown ledger, and he opened it up and he showed me his numbers. And anybody that ever paid a check went into the ledger. And anybody that paid cash did not go into the ledger. Okay? So he couldn't even show me that he made $2,300. He was making like $1,200 a month. That's all he could show me. That's it. Nothing else. And I'm going to tell you, every single facility that I've ever bought is exactly like this. If you can find these, I'm telling you, they're gold mines. Okay? And the reason why is this is a mismanaged facility. Okay, so what that means is that if I want to buy this, I can't go to the bank. There's no bank that's going to fund this. If you have an income producing property, right, number 2, right, so the 5 ways is mismanaged and income producing. Right? That's 2 of the 5 ways. Income producing properties. What they're going to do is they're going to be like, you need a P&L on the balance sheet? Here you go. You want a tax returns? Here you go. Why? Because they want top dollar for that facility. In fact, every mismanaged facility that I buy, my goal is to become an income producing property. Because when I sell that property or refi out or what I'm going to do, like I want top dollar for that. And in the commercial real estate investing world, everything is income based. Okay? Everything's income based. So you have to show that you're making money. You have to be able to show that you can pay the mortgage, right? If you can't show that, then there's no bank that's going to lend to you. Now, if you can show that, you can get some pretty badass rates right now. I have students right now, they're like buying facilities with like 4% interest of 20-year loans. But you have to put 20% down. When you go to a bank and go get a loan, especially right now, 20% down. I was like, oh, SBA, you can get 10 or 15. No, like they tell you they can get 10 or 15. And in the end, they're like, it's 20%. Hard money lenders, they want like 30%. And this is the same exact thing in the real estate, in the residential side as well too. They say 20% and then they come up with 30% later. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody had any of those experiences? So in the income producing world, you're going to need 20% down. Okay? So that you can get a bank loan. What kind of bank loans are there? There's SBA, right? And there's local banks. Local banks love storage facilities. Any bank loves storage facilities because it's recession resistant. In the upturn, you make money, and in a downturn, you make money. There's hardly ever any storage facilities that go up for auction. And when they do, it's ridiculous prices. I never even look at auctions, but, because banks love storage facilities. So if you ever find a facility that you want to buy that can show a P&L, that can show a balance sheet and tax returns, right? So this means you're going to need a balance sheet, tax returns, 2 years that show that you're 90% full, right? And the P&L. Okay, if you can get that from your owner, then bing, bang, boom, you're going to get you're going to get an awesome loan right now. Okay. I have a student right now that is buying a $1.6 million facility. And he has to put 20% down. Okay. And so he had to come up with $300,000. Okay. So how did he come up with 300 grand? He does not have any money at all. No money. All right. So what did he do? He borrowed $300,000 from two different people, 150 from one and 150 from the other. He partnered with them, created a company, and they're all three going to be as the down payment, putting that $300,000 down. And then the split is 25-75. Right? So he's going to get 25% and they're going to split the 75%. All right. So that would be like a great deal for income producing property. Okay. That's kind of like a structure that you could do. Okay. Now back to Big John. All right. So back to Big John. So he's making on this property, he said he's making $2,300. I looked it up. He's making like not even $2,300. All right, when we started out, I think we made like $1,500 at the most when we bought the place. And so now the question is, how much money do you think we can make? So how do you figure that out, right? Let me just write this down. I'm very visual, so I like to write stuff down. Okay, so in the commercial real estate world, right? Because if you're going to get into self-storage, you got to learn how to do commercial real estate. Actually, does anybody do commercial real estate right now? Just let me know. I know Lori just did her thing here. So let me know in the chat who's doing, if you're actually doing commercial real estate, you understand cap rate, you understand ROI, you understand cash on cash return, yield, not NOIs, anything like that. Okay, so we've got a couple of them, Lana and CB, I think is what it is. I'm sorry if I screwed your name up. Okay, so the way that we look at it in the self-storage investing world is we look at it as is, and then we look at it as potential, and then we look at it as opportunity or after updates or value add. You could say value add, right? As is like, what is it making right now, right? Right now. And this is like present. In the present, right now, what is it making? Okay. What is it worth as is? Mismanaged properties, you're going to get like a negative cap rate a lot of the times. Okay. Potential is how much is it going to, what do I need to do in order to get it full? What is it worth to just get it full? That's it. I'm not going to do any value add. I'm not increasing the rates. I'm not adding new units or anything like that. Just how do I get it full? Roll. Right? So you kind of, in the self-storage investing world, you look at your deals in three different ways. You look at them as is, and then you look at them as full, like potential. Okay, so like I think like, and I'll show you with Big John's facility, right? Full. And then you look at the opportunity cost. You look at like, if I could add new units, if I could increase the rate of this price per square foot, then it's going to be worth this much money. And so that's what we are looking at in the self-storage investing world. Okay. Any questions on that? Just let me know. Okay, good. We had three. We got a handful of people that are doing commercial real estate. All right, awesome. Now with Big John here. Okay, so now let's try to figure out what this thing. Now that's what my question is like if I increase the rate. So the as is would be like, you know, 2,300 or 20 or 3,290, whatever you want to do. Sorry. So as is would be, can y'all see my bottom? Let me make this go like this here too, a little bit there. Okay. As is, he said he made 2,300. Okay. As is, this is the potential 3,290. Okay. So as is, potential. Now, what is the value add? Now there's no space to like add units or anything like that. All right. So the only value add that you have is to increase the price, to increase the rent, right? To get it full and then increase the rent. Okay. So how do you figure out? Give me some guesses. I haven't gotten to that part, Jay. I haven't gotten to that because that's the big surprise, man. That's the big surprise. Okay. All right. So let's just practice this. Let's just get into this now. What do you think? How would you find out what the value add could be for this? Remember, it's either adding units, can't add units because there's no land available, right? And or you can increase the price of the rent. All right. So how do you figure out how much money you can increase on the price of the rent? What's the guess? What do you think you do to figure out that? Any guesses? Yes, thank you very much, Lou. You call around to the competition. You call the competition and you see what are they charging. And there's several other competitors in the area. Now, before we get to that, I want to give you all the secret sauce, the formula to figure out if you should buy the thing or not. Right? Everybody, you want the formula? The formula is, this is going to tell you if there is enough storage facilities in the area, enough units in the area, or can you add more or not, or kind of where you stand. All right. Does anybody know this? I'm just wondering. I didn't ask anybody. Does anybody actually own storage facilities in this group? Put into the chat if you own a storage facility. But is you take the total square footage of a 3 to 5 mile radius, 3 to 5 mile radius, depending on where you're at. Like, so now probably here would be like a 3 mile radius, right? And, but out in the middle of nowhere, it would be like a 5 mile radius, right? There's like not a lot of stuff around, okay? Something like that. So you just kind of figure it out there. And you divide that by the total population of that area. Okay, so you have total square footage divided by total population. How do you find the total square footage? You got to add it up. You got to call them. You got to figure out all the competitors. You got to look at what their square footage is, right? And then you've got to add all that up. All right. And on top of that, you got to figure out the population within that area as well, too, and then divide that. Your number should be between 6 and 8. Right? If it's between $6 and $8 per square foot, then you're in the green. All right. This is a good market. All right. When you're starting to get 9 and above, it's like a little risky, and it's a little bit risky about like under, 6, under 6, 5 and below. Okay. So you're like, is this a good area? Should I buy this in this area? Is there too much competition or not? That's one of the questions I get all the time. It's like, oh, is it saturated? Well, yeah, okay, so think about it this way. There's 3 different markets, okay? There's the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary market, okay? The primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. Now, this is how it works in the self-storage investing world. This is not like all commercial real estate, but I'm going to tell you in the self-storage investing world. Now, California, people are happy in California if you get a 5 cap, right? All right, they're like, 5, 6 cap, they're happy on, they're happy. It's crazy here, right? But in the secondary markets, which would be like the burbs, maybe like not going, not towards the water, but maybe on the 99 or something like this. Now, outside of the major like cities, right? This would be like secondary markets. Maybe you could get you should get to like an 8 to 9 cap. All right. And then in the tertiary markets, 10 plus cap. I see this across all states across the country. Now, California might be a little bit lower on this, right? Because essentially you guys are California. So y'all are just crazy here. But But this is kind of how you want to gauge it, though, is you want to say, am I in a primary market? Am I in a secondary market, or am I in a tertiary market? Okay, so primary is going to be like in the cities, right? And I drove, like, my husband and I and my daughter, we took a 4-month vacation this past year, May, June, July, August, and we went from Atlanta to New York, and then New York to all the way across to Oregon, all the way down the 99, and then all the way back. We did 4 months, like a road trip. So I drove up. I mean, we were in Yosemite all the way down to the Sequoia National Park and Kingsland and all that. So I have a kind of an idea of like the 99 area and towards the mark. And actually that mountain road on the other side of the mountains, like towards the Nevada, there is a lot of storage facilities over there. Now, I don't know if that's considered tertiary market or secondary market in California. What you have to do is you have to really get to know your market and look and see what things are sold for in that area. Right. But I would say like 99, up, and then kind of like, over towards the Nevada area is probably going to be your cheaper areas. Or the truth is, honestly, is if you learn how to invest in self-storage, you can own storage facilities anywhere in the country, because we have all of our storage facilities are in Georgia, but we travel 6 to 8 months out of the year. So you can completely make these virtual. And actually, I have many, many students that are living in one place. I have one student living in Florida and buying in Maine. And I have one student that's living in New Hampshire and buying in Florida. So I don't know what's that about, but whatever, just that's how it works, right? Once you really, truly learn how to make these passive, you can buy them anywhere, okay? But I just wanted to let you know kind of like how you look at the markets. Is it a primary, secondary, or tertiary market? Probably like all the way up where y'all are at, that's all probably primary until you get towards like the Nevada area, so you have to really kind of figure out what your competition, number one, is charging, right, for their units. And then also, what are they selling for? What is it selling for? What kind of cap rates are these things selling for? And when you look at the numbers, what they're actually selling for, not what they're listed for. What they're listed for and what they're selling for is two different things, right? But what they sell for, what's the cap rate for that? And then you can gauge kind of where you are in that market. Now, if you don't have enough money, if you don't have a lot of money, you should not be looking in probably primary or secondary markets. You need to be looking at tertiary markets. All right. Tertiary is like out in the middle of nowhere. Right. And I know California has those because I've seen them, because I drove all the way up in there. Go all the way up to Mount Shasta. In that area, there were so many storage facilities up in that area. I was like looking at all of them. Yeah, because that's what I do. I drive for storage. Essentially, that's what my husband and I do. We drive for storage. So we don't do driving for dollars. We do drive for storage. And so basically what I'm saying is that figure out what your market is by looking at the competitors and looking at what they're actually paying for their properties and what those cap rates truly are once they buy them, right? Okay. Now, and this will also help you gauge, like, if you think about how much money you have, like if you don't have any money, right? You need to either find somebody that has money and partner with them, or you need to wholesale. And wholesaling is actually the third way that you can invest in self-storage, right? Right here, wholesale. So if you're like, I don't have any money, and I know I want to get in the storage market, then learn how to wholesale self-storage. Now, wholesaling self-storage is nothing like wholesaling residential. All right. There's no like, oh, I just put this property under contract and I'm going to text everybody and say, look, I got this property under contract. Do your own due diligence. Right. It just doesn't work like that in the self-storage investing world. Think about this. There's only actually guess in the chat, guess how many self-storage facilities are there in the United States? Total. How many are there? Without cheating. All right, how many self-storage facilities are there in the United States total? Does anybody have a guess on that? 300K, 26 million? That's a lot of storage facilities. 120,000, 70,000, 50,000, 500. Actually, the one person that was not sure, Jay, he's correct. There are 50,000 storage facilities in the United States. Now think about it. If there's 50,000 storage facilities in the United States, how many storage facilities are there in each state? Does anybody do the math on that? I'm really tired. I have no idea. No, there's 1,000 storage facilities roughly in every single state. 20% of those are owned by REITs. 20% are public storage, U-Haul, Cube Smarts, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then, you know, and then 70% are owned by like just us, little people, all right, just mom and pops. All right. So, I mean, there is not a lot of storage facilities in the world. And actually out of that 70%, many, because I have that entire list of all the storage facility owners. And a lot of them are owning 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 storage facilities. Okay. And so that number is really diminished. So how many people, if there's only 700 facilities in every single state, probably half of them are owned by the same person. That's only 350 owners per state times 50, 15,000 storage facility owners in the country. That's it. That's it. It's a very, very small number of people in this industry. And this industry is like, it's like a tight-knit community. All right. And we're storage nerds. That's what we are. We're storage nerds. And like, you can't come in and be like, got a storage facility under contract. I want to wholesale this out, you know, DM me and I'll send you the link, right? I'll send you the address. It don't work like that. All right. Nobody's going to buy from you. In the commercial real estate world, and you guys tell me if y'all have experience with this, we spoiled. I'm spoiled. I'm like, where's my buyer's package? I want a pro forma. I want pictures. I want a presentation. I want it all. I want everything. I want everything that you can give me. And in fact, due diligence for storage facilities is like 30 to 60 days, you know, and it takes 90 days to close these suckers, at least. And the bigger that you get, the longer it takes, right? And the due diligence is like a long time out because we're sitting there trying to, like, you know, just like multifamily, we're trying to figure out if we want to buy the thing, right? So we want all the dirty details up front so that we don't have to ask for a long due diligence, essentially. So guess what? You as a wholesaler, you got to do your job, you got to do your work, you got to put the thing together, and you got to present us with a totally badass wholesaling package. Now I'm going to tell you, if you learn how to do that, you will make a lot of money because there are not, I can count probably on my hands and my toes, really good wholesalers that wholesale storage. That's it. Okay. And so like I told you that one of my students that's buying that $1.6 million facility, he's buying it from a wholesaler. And it's actually he's buying it for $1.5 million. And he's paying the wholesaler, the wholesale fee is $150,000. That's what he's paying the wholesaler. So, and he's like, I'll pay that, right? Because it's actually, the facility is actually worth $3 million. So he's getting a really good deal. But he's like, I'll pay that. Of course I'll pay that. And so he's coming up with that money out of pocket because SBA won't fund that. The $150,000. So he's coming up with that money out of pocket to fund the wholesaler. But that's what I said, you make upwards, you can make, I have another student that just made one for $100,000. So if you learn how to wholesale, you can make a lot of money wholesaling self-storage. And there's just not enough wholesalers in the world. But now you got 3 properties here, 3 ways to invest. Wholesaling, we got 2 more, wholesaling, mismanaged, and income producing properties. Okay. So now we got the as is for Big John's was $2,300. The potential was $3,290, so $3,300 or whatever. The value add, now we know, is how much can we raise the rents? How much can we raise the rents? That's the value add for this facility. So we called around to all the competition. We did our formula. We figured out that it's like, you know, $7 per square foot. And it's a go for this facility. And now we called the competition, and guess what? they're charging for 10 by 10s, they're charging $65 for a 10 by 10. All right, $65. And they're charging the parking, they're charging, actually nobody really has any parking, it's like we do, like big rig parking, but essentially in like Atlanta, we called around to like parking spaces for like big rigs and stuff like that, and they're charging $130 a month, $130 a month for parking. Okay, now we only charge $100 per lane, so we just guesstimated $100 per lane. Okay, for these. Now, how many lanes were there? There's 50 lanes. So 50 times 100 is $5,000. I know that one at least. Okay. And then $65 by 64. What's that number? $65 times 64 units. Can anybody give me that number? I'm too tired. 65 times 64.
4160.
4160. 4160. So 4160 plus 5,000 is $9,000 a month. $9,000 a month. And he's making $2,000 a month. Okay, so he's literally wasting his time and efforts on like $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month, right? And so I was so happy. Just like the bubble. Now the question is, what's the price? What am I going to buy this sucker for? That's the question, right? What can I get this sucker for? He wants to sell at $500,000. Been on the market 5 years, $5,000, $500,000. All right. So now we're in his office and he's showing me his ledger. And he's showing me his numbers. And he's like, when we close, he's like, you can have this ledger. And I was like, oh, thanks, Big John. That really helps me out a lot. You know, and I was like, look, okay, so this is the deal. This is what I said. My lender, remember, I brought my lender with me. Because I already knew it's going to be a good deal. The question was, and I was walking around my lender and he was looking at me and he was like, this is a good deal. You know, we're like eyeballing each other. And so I was like, look, John, it's like the truth of the matter is that your property has been sitting on the market for 5 years. Nobody wants to buy it. And I'm going to tell you why nobody wants to buy it. Right? Because the reason why is because you're not managing it properly. And nobody has $500,000 cash to buy this thing. You cannot go to a bank and get a loan for this property. And the reason why is because you have no P&L, you have no balance sheet, and you have no tax returns. You have nothing for me. You can't show me anything at all on what this property is producing because you have taken that cash and put it into your pocket every single month. And I said, because of that, I'm going to have to borrow money from a private lender. Now, when I borrow that money for a private lender, it's going to be double of what I pay to the bank, the interest rate. All right. So the reason why I'm going to offer this price to you, the price that I'm going to offer to you, is because I have to include that interest rate to make sure that there's enough spread on the deal. And also I need the approval from my lender and he needs to approve this, right? So I brought him here. So I said, the reason why I'm going to offer you such a low offer is because this property is a mismanaged property and I will never, ever be able to get a loan until I can clean it up, get all the units that are full, unfull, and get all the bad tenants out and get good tenants in and start running this thing like a true business. The truth of the matter is people don't realize that when you buy a storage facility, you're actually buying a retail business. Okay, you have to deal with people, tenants every single day. They're like, oh yeah, it's so much easier. It's easier because it doesn't take a lot of time. But the truth of the matter is you still have tenants, and you need to be able to train your tenants, right, to pay on the first. You need to get that as a debit, right? So this is no cash, no checks, completely automated, completely virtual, contactless, whatever you want to call it. Right? Now, we have not met any of our tenants in 5 years. Okay? So we are completely virtual, completely systematized, completely automated. And the reason why is because we want to make this into an income producing property, number one, and sell this for the highest amount. But number two is like, if you're going to invest in self-storage, make it passive income. If you want to invest in passive income, make it truly passive income. If you buy a facility and you drive over there every day to let somebody in and sign contracts and put locks on the doors, that is not passive income, right? So you want to really make this passive income. And so I told John, I said, look, I'm gonna offer this price to you. And I know that you're gonna hate this price, but this is my price. And you can just think about it and just let me know. But I have to take into consideration what my lender is going to lend to me. And actually, the truth of the matter is my very first deal, I really didn't even understand cap rate or anything like that. I was just like, I know I'm going to just give like a super low ball offer and see what he says. And so I said, because of that, I said, I'm going to offer $200,000. That's my offer, $200,000. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. No. And I was like, okay, well, I said, I gave you the reasons. I was like, you're never going to be able to sell this thing unless somebody has cash to buy it. That's the only way anybody will ever be able to buy this. I have cash. Here he is right here. He's willing to lend the money if you're willing to work with us on the deal. And he was like, no, I'm not doing $200,000. I said, well, think about it. That's my offer. And then just give me just give us a call and let us know if you change your mind. And he said, okay. And so then we left. In my mind, my price was $250,000. I was like, I'll pay $250,000 for this thing, easy. I would have paid $500,000. I would have paid $400,000 for this thing. But I was like, I'll do $250,000 will be good. And I talked to my lender and I was like, what do you think about $250,000? And he was like, yeah, $250,000 is good. And I said, let's shoot for $250,000. And so he called back the next day. And he said, I'll do $250,000. And I was like, yes, like that. And so we put it under contract for $250,000. Okay. So now let's figure out how to run the numbers on that. Now I need my phone, which I don't have. Let me show y'all how I do this. This is a quick analysis. This is not how you run numbers on a commercial deal analyzer. And this is on a commercial deal. You have to have a commercial deal analyzer, and you have to be able to plug all of the numbers in to get the true numbers. You need to know what the NOI is. You need to know what what you're going to make after you pay your mortgage. NOI, don't include mortgage, y'all. Whenever you see NOI everywhere, you still got to pay your mortgage, right? So you have to learn how to run cap rate. You have to learn how to really, truly run commercial deal analysis. But I use a cap rate calculator to do quick analysis. If you do not have a cap rate calculator on your phone, there's like 1 million apps. So just search cap rate calculator and download an app on your phone. Does anybody here already have a cap rate calculator on their phone? If you don't, you need to get one, because you could even do your rentals with your cap. I look up my cap rates for my rentals as well too. You need to be able to you need to learn how to do cap rate. If you're gonna be an investor, it's time, all right? It's time. Okay, all right, now I can't see because I have my other glasses on. Let me see what this is. Okay. All right, so now let's run the numbers. I have this cap rate calculator, okay? Which I love this cap rate. I have no idea which one it is. It looks like a fax machine is what it looks like on the app. Okay, just so if anybody wants to know which one I'm using, it's this one. And I like it because when you scroll down, it actually gives you the formulas too. So you can look at the formula. How do you calculate your cap rate? You can look at how they actually run the numbers to give you kind of an idea of how to calculate it, okay? Now remember, right, this one is in a secondary market. Secondary market. So it's not the primary, it's in a secondary market. So I should be around 8 to 9% cap rate. Okay. Now with a mismanaged facility on the as is side, right? On the as is side, remember we talked about as is, potential opportunity. As is potential opportunity. Okay. On the as-is side for mismanaged facilities, most of the time it's like horrible cap rates. All right, so you're not looking at a mismanaged facility. You're looking at it for the opportunity, and you're looking for potential and opportunity. Essentially, is what you're looking at. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's do cap rate. So does anybody have a cap rate calculator besides me? Okay. Purchase price was $250,000. So $250,000, and to calculate your cap rate, you need four things. You need now when you're doing like a real deal analysis, you need like a whole bunch of stuff. All right. But to calculate your cap rate, you need purchase price, your vacancy rate, your total annual income, and your total annual expenses. Those are the four things that you need: cap rate, vacancy, percentage, total annual income, and total expenses. So when you're talking to your sellers, right? Oh, when you're talking to your sellers, that's what you'd be like, oh yeah, tell me what your annual, hey, like, okay, so what's your purchase price? Oh, I don't want to tell you my purchase. I don't know what it is, right? It's okay. Well, what's your vacancy rate? All right. Are you vacant? Are you full? What percentage are you full? They always lie to you no matter what anyways, but just, do a roundabout number. Your total annual income is, your total annual income, right? So, oh yeah, so what are you making you can ask, what are you making per month? And you can just multiply it by 12, or what's your annual income, right? And I'm the type of person like, now, like, I just don't beat around the bush. Like, if you're interested in selling, just give me the numbers so I can run the deal. And then also the annual expenses. Those are the four things. Okay. So let's figure this out. And then annual expenses is typically, right, just like in the multifamily. Multifamily is a little bit more expensive than commercial and then storage, but typically it's 30% of your annual income. So if you don't want to figure out what your expenses are or what theirs is, and actually the truth of the matter is these people here, Big John, he ain't got no expenses, right? I love storage facilities because with the storage, I mean, what expenses do you have? Now we have a lot of expenses because we have we have like boots on the ground people, and we have like operating, what's it called? An office manager that answers the phone. So that's like, you have to add all that in, software and stuff like this. But this guy, he don't have no software. He don't have no computer. You have a computer. I just literally put one under contract. The owner has no computer at all. He owns nothing. He owns no computer. He has a phone. He's like, but he couldn't figure out how to do that. I texted a message like, how to do my text message. So anyway, so their expenses are not your expenses. This is one thing I always tell my students. They're like trying to get their expenses. Like, who cares what their expenses are? Their expenses are not going to be your expenses. So, but in a roundabout way, 30% is a good number for these smaller kind of facilities. And once you get bigger, like if you get like 150 plus units or something like that, like, okay, maybe 35%. And if you have like, I just talked to one guy yesterday, and he's building 600 units. So that's like, I mean, that could be like a 40%. That's like 40% expense rate, right? But 30% is a good average number to use if you cannot figure out your expenses are, to run the quick calculation. All right. So, oh my gosh, I can't see. Okay, 250,000. The income. Now we're going to run off of, you can run it off of as is, right? You can run it off of potential. You have those numbers now, right? And you can run it off of the opportunity cost. You can compare what the cap rates could be. So right here. So 2,300 times 12 is what? Can somebody tell me? What's 2,300? We're going to do as is first. As is, okay? What's 2,300 times 12?
27,600. 27,600.
27,600. Okay, so 27,600 is the income. Vacancy rate. I mean, this vacancy rate, he was like 75% vacant. Let's just say 50% vacant. Okay, 50% vacant. Expenses for him, probably no expenses, right? But for us, it's 30%. So what's 27? That's like $6,000, right? 27 times 3? Or am I like totally off? Oh my gosh. What's 27,000 times 30%? I feel like it would be like $6,000 or $7,000. If we put $7,000 for expenses, that's a 2.72% cap rate. So the numbers that I have, if you're calculating them with me, is $250,000 for the purchase price. What was that? Is somebody talking to me? Okay. All right. 27,600 for the annual income, 50% for the expenses, and 7,000 for the, 50% for the vacancy and 7,000 for the expenses. That comes out to a 2.72% cap rate. I mean, obviously, as I said, mismanaged facilities can be like horrible cap rates. I buy sometimes negative cap rates, right? Because it's just so bad. I just picked up like, I picked up one. I talked to the owner, and he also was like 84 years old. And I was like, I said, I want to buy your facility. He said, yes, please buy it. And I said, okay. I said, how many units do you have? And he said, I have 105 units. Now, great. This guy has had this facility for like 40 years. All right. I talked to when we bought the facility, we counted 120 units. This guy, he had no idea even how many units he had. He told us 105. We ran all of our numbers on 105. We closed it on 105. And then we get in there and my husband starts calculating, doing maps and mapping it out. He's like, we got 120 units. So isn't that funny? That's awesome, isn't it? Okay. So this is a 2.72% cap rate. Next one, 3290 times 12. Oh, I have my calculator now, so I can do this here. Hang on. 3290. Okay. 3290 times 12. Is everybody still with me? Am I putting y'all to sleep? Y'all are good? Okay. All right. So we'll make sure. Okay, 39,480. 39,480 is the income for potential. What does potential mean? Potential means I ain't doing nothing but just getting it full. That's it. I'm not raising the rates at all. I'm just going to be like, okay. And that's what we did. When we first bought our first facility, I was so scared that people were going to leave and then we wouldn't be able to even afford the mortgage. And so I was like, we're going to grandfather everybody in, keep the same price. And it took us a year to raise prices. A year. Like I was so scared. I had no idea. And then, and then guess what? So we did we did a 60-day notice up to the year. And I was like, okay, we're going to raise rates. And we literally we were actually going to raise the rates to like what the price should be. So it was like doubling the price. And I was like, everybody's going to leave. We're doubling from $35 to $65 to $60. I was like freaking out. And guess what happened? Nobody left. Not one person left. I wasted a whole year. So now I tell my students, as soon as you buy that facility, you give a 60-day notice and you raise those rates. Don't do what I did, right? Don't do what I did, right? So anyways, okay. So now, what did we get? 39. Okay, so now we still have 250,000. It's like, let's say 39,980. What did I say? 39,980 or something like that?
39,480.
39,480. Okay, 480. Somebody's listening to me. I at least got one person listening. That's good. It's now it's full. So it's a 92%. Sorry, it's 8% vacancy. So you always run your numbers when it's full on 8% vacancy. Just because like people moving in and out and stuff like that, right? So, but 8% is considered full. So 8% vacancy. 30% of 40,000 is what? Times 0.3. 11,000, so $12,000 bucks. Okay. So $12,000 in expenses, calculate 9.729 cap rate. 9.729. Remember, a secondary market, once you figure it out, right? Once you figure it out, this is at least the cap rates that most of my students are getting. Actually, every student that I have is getting this. That actually puts something in the contract. There's secondary markets, 8 to 9%. We're even more. We're at 9.79% cap rate. So we're doing pretty good. And all we're doing is just getting it full. That's it. All right. Now we got the big bucks. Now we got the good stuff coming up, right? What did I say that we were making? Oh my gosh, was it like $9 grand or something?
9,100.
Making like $9 grand a month on this thing now. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much money we're making. So we're like, let's just calculate 9 grand times 12 is what? Oh my gosh. Let's do 9 grand. 9 times 12 is what? Okay, 108. So now we're making 108 a year income, right? So 108, oops, 108,000. Vacancy rate full, we're full. And the expenses are now, what's 30% of that, of 108?
70,000.
32,000, so 32,000, let's put. Oh, somebody else is listening. All right, good. $32,000. What number did everybody get? What's the cap rate on this? What did y'all get? Tell me in the chat what y'all got. I'm going to tell y'all for this is a pop quiz because I'm the teacher and I can give pop quizzes. All right. What is the cap rate? 29, 27. All right, good. 26. Yes, I got 26,944. So we're right in the same spot, right? So I'm earning a 26% cap rate. Let's say 25% cap rate on this facility. 26% cap rate. And guess what? Now we can calculate what I can sell it for. Now, what is a number what's a cap rate that you can use? So on average, what is facilities right now selling for in the world? Give me a cap rate, a suggestion or a guess. What's the cap rate what's the cap rate in self-storage world that'd be like an average good? What do appraisers use? What's the cap rate that appraisers use? Right? And it really kind of depends on your market, right? Depends on your market. If it's a primary, secondary. So I'm in a secondary market, right? So secondary market, 8 to 9%. All right. So you would use that number to figure out what you could sell it for. Okay. So let's just say 8%, an 8% cap rate. All right. So if I wanted to sell this at an 8% cap rate, what's the price? Give me the number. Give me the number. So what can y'all calculate? Any guesses?
945.
Let's go. So, no. That's a 7 cap. That's a 7 cap. So that's a little higher. Let's try 845. That was a very precise number. 945.
What?
So 900, like $850,000. Essentially, if I wanted to sell this property right now, based on that income that we're making is 800. I mean, I'll be happy if I made 700,000. You know, at an 8 cap, it's 850 grand. Now I need to make that look like an $850,000 facility. So we are in the process of doing that. We're redoing the asphalt, making the road around the facility look really good, which is going to cost us we got quotes of like 30 grand or something like this. So that's 30 grand that we have to pay out of our pocket. We're putting a new fence up, making it nice. That's going to be another 10 or 15. It's only like one side. The other side is kind of like a chain link, but one side is a wood fence. So we're putting all that up, making it look brand new, nice. It's going to cost like 10 grand or so. So let's just say we put 50 grand in this thing. All right. I mean, still, I'm going to be making 500 grand. I'm going to make at least 400 grand on this thing, minimum to $500,000. And I just bought this thing 4 years ago. I just bought it 4 years ago. So that is the power of mismanaged facilities. And that's why I love mismanaged facilities. And in fact, pretty much every single one of the facilities that I bought are exactly like this one. Exactly like this one. All right. And they're making like, they won't make like 400 or 500, but they'll make a couple $100,000. Okay. So that is what I love about storage facilities. And that's why I think it's the best kept secret in the real estate investing world. Is it truly passive? Yes. Yes. If you want to make it truly passive, it can truly be passive. Okay. So we talk about my 3-step process. How much time do I have? Okay. How long do we go for this?
You have like until 9 our time. So you have
Okay. All right. So 30 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would do like 15 more in teaching and then 15 for questions.
Yeah. No, I'm answering questions now, actually. We're going to do my 3-step process. Okay. And that's called, it's my 3-step process. How to get into this. Find them. Fund them. Run them. Okay. That's my 3-step process. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Right? Okay, so find them. All right, let's just do it real fast. Finding them. All right. You can't go onto Crexy and LoopNet to find properties like this. All right. You can't go to Crexy and LoopNet. All right. So you have to find what I call the hidden market. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to go onto Google Maps. Google Maps. Because guess what? If somebody's looking for a storage facility, where do you think they're going to look for a storage facility? They're going online and typing storage facility Nashville, storage facility Louisville, storage facility, whatever they're putting in, right? And also, or what they're doing, which is even more powerful than that, I believe, in the self-storage investing world, is Google Maps. Because that's what I do now. Like I'm always like whatever storage facility near me. That's what I do, right? Now, every single one of the storage facilities that I've ever bought and all my students, most of them, these owners, Big John, right? He don't have a mailbox at his storage facility. Has anybody ever tried to get a business on Google Maps? Okay. Has anybody ever done that before? Y'all let me know if anybody's ever done it. I'm going to tell y'all it ain't easy. All right. The storage facilities that are on Google Maps, most of them are office managers that figured out how to do that. Okay. So you're going to go on to Google Maps and you're going to be like storage facilities next to me. And guess what? All these storage facilities are going to pop up around you. I'm going to tell y'all that however many storage facilities that you find on Google Maps, the same amount of storage facilities are not on Google Maps. Okay. And that's what I call the hidden market. And you have to find those storage facilities. And I do that by driving for dollars or driving for storage. I use Google Maps as a guide, right? And I say, okay, like I'm going to take out all the big box offices, take the huge big ones out, and I'm going to look for the little rinky dinky ones that, the ones that, I think I can afford to buy. And then I'm going to use that as kind of a little map, and I'm going to map those out. And then I'm going to get out there and just drive. And actually my acquisitions person, I hired an acquisitions person last year. And I've been teaching and taught him how to do this. And actually he went out in November. We went out in November. I hired him in October. We went out in November, went driving, spent like right before Thanksgiving. It was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We drove like all day for 3 days straight because I was like training him. And we found like 30 facilities that were not on Google Maps, like the hidden market. When you go out and you drive for storage facilities, you really look like you can't be all jamming out in the car and like listening to like Prince and stuff. All right. You got to be focused because these are all like hidden storage facilities. All right. And then like we found these storage facilities And I'm going to tell y'all, as soon as you're in front of that facility, guess what? Just call them up because the phone number's right there, right? The phone number's right on the sign. You don't have to do any skip tracing or anything. It's just right there. I told you, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So then you just call them up. And all these storage facility owners, I'm going to tell y'all that they live right around the corner. They all live right around the corner. Every single one that I put under contract, they live right around the corner. I had one that we were driving out in those 3 days. We drove over to one and found it. And I called up the owner and he was like, yeah, I want to sell. You know, I've been thinking about selling for a while. And I was like, I'm right here in front of your facility. Can you meet me? Just come out here. He's like, no, I'm 84 years old. I can't do that. Can you come to my house? And I was like, sure. Where do you live? He's like, I live right around the corner. And I was like, see, I told my student, my acquisitions person, I said, see, I told you they always live right around the corner. And so then we went over his house and guess what we did for 2 hours? Guess what we did for 2 hours? We just talked about his story and his life. And he was like, at the end of the 2 hours, he's like, I like you. I think I want to sell you my storage facility. And I said, great, I'll pay this much. And he said, okay. We put it under contract right then and there. And that's basically how you find how you find really good deals. The best deals are when you're face to face, or if you can't be face to face, like if you're living in California, you're like, okay, I'm going to go on to Nevada or Oregon, then you need to be like on a Zoom call, talking to them and getting to know them, right? Or you need some sort of a boots on the ground person that you know that you can partner with that can go out and do this. Because going on to Crexi and LoopNet and Marcus and Millichap and CBRE and stuff, essentially there's way too many hands in the pot and those deals are way too expensive for anything, for any type of deal at all. It's just too expensive. You know what I'm saying? So I follow all them and I keep an eye out on what's coming out. Right. But I've never bought anything from any of those. All my deals are just like Big John's and it's all just basically driving for storage. So you can totally do this. It's just that you guys are going to have to figure out the market that you live in, primary, secondary, tertiary. What can you afford? How much money can you come up with? And then based on what you can come up with is where you're going to be looking for those facilities. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, now you can totally do that with Google Maps. Totally do that with Google Maps. Google Maps is a great way to get started, at least getting to know your area. And then when you find those ones that are not like all the big box office, then you drive around and look and pay attention and really look for the stuff that's not on Google Maps. Because all these people that are 60, 70, 80 years old that own storage facilities, they never put a mailbox up. They ain't gonna put a mailbox up. They don't even have a computer. They don't care about Google Maps. In fact, the $1.6 million facility that my student is buying, the guy does not own a computer. He has a 300-unit facility and he has a ledger. Okay, so they're definitely out there. The hard part is trying to find the good ones. All right, so that's finding them. All right, funding them, we talked about. Funding them is, remember I told you, mismanaged facilities, you're going to have to find cash for these things. There's no bank that's going to lend for this. Because you're going to have to partner, find cash, however you're going to do that. Private money, mismanaged, income producing properties, you can go to a bank and you can get a loan. Okay. The other two ways that we did not get into, and I'm not going to get into, is developing and conversions. If you have a lot of money, if you know how to get a hold of a lot of money, if there's somebody like, I can get some money, I got a couple $1 million, then developing and conversions is the way to go. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Developing and conversions. And number 5 is new construction. If you like new construction, I've done new construction. On the residential side, it's not my thing. But if you are a new construction person, or you're like that one person, there's always somebody in the group that's like, I got a piece of land that is perfect for self-storage. All right, so then there is not enough self-storage facilities in the world. There's just not right now. There is such a need for them. If you know how to run a facility properly, it should be full. And then if it's full, you should be raising rates. All right, so new construction is the way to go. Actually, I have another student too that borrowed $500,000, and is building the facility, right? Got the facility appraised for what it's going to be worth when it's 90% full, and it's going to be worth $1.5 million. So like on the mismanaged facilities, you can kind of gauge and be like, okay, I'm going to double my value. On the new construction, it's usually like triple value. Right? So you're going to borrow 500 and sell it in 5 years. It's going to take you 3 to 5 years to get that thing 90% full, up, running, and then you can sell it for $1.5 million. So, and you can think that in terms of any type of, in the numbers, and even in California, whatever it's going to cost. Because I saw her numbers. I saw Lori. She's doing like 32% cap rates and so that's a badass cap rate, so. Anyway, but that's basically the 5 ways to invest in self-storage. I kind of mostly went into these 3. This is like a whole academy is what this is. And then running them, all right, you have to learn how to run them to make them passive. That's why I call it training your tenants. Training your tenants, right? So you are going to get a software that manages your entire company, everything, manages everything. Now there's some softwares that are cheaper that don't manage everything, and there are some that are more expensive that manage everything. Like our auction process, completely automated and systematized, right? Our lockbox system, completely automated and systematized. Getting those payments on the first is only electronic. If they don't make a payment, all the text messages, all the emails, everything that goes out to remind them is all completely automated. And that's a very good software that you can get and you can use to create the back office of your business. All right. So that is the running part. That's the training your tenants. Like on Big John, right? On Big John's facility, like, nobody was paying and they would just pay whatever. And so it was horrible trying to get them to pay. So I got to get all those people out and get good people in. And then I had to train them like, okay, rent is due on the 1st. It's late on the 5th. You're overlocked on the 10th. If you don't pay by the 25th, you're going into the auction process. Essentially every month we have an auction. Every month we have an auction. And guess what? Our auctions are completely automated, completely systematized, and completely virtual. We don't even go to our auctions because guess what? They're all online right now. We even we're auctioning cars right now from some of our facilities that have parking. We just put them online and auction those off. So we are completely virtual. And in this case, I'm telling you, if you want to make this truly passive income and passive wealth, you can do it. But you just have to do it. Just like with your rentals or anything else. Now, what I tell a lot of my students too, what I tell everybody is that if you want to buy something that's further away, right? So all of our facilities are at least 2 hours away from us. We have no facilities near us. So we can't get up and drive over to fix anything that's wrong. So what that does is that makes us internally run those properties even better. Right? So we have to have those systems in place just in case something happens. If somebody got overlocked and needs to get into their facility and pays right then, it's an emergency or whatever, the gate breaks or whatever, that is all completely automated and systematized. All right. And if you buy something, the further away that you buy it, the more automated and systematized you become. Right? So everyone's like, I just need to look at my area and see what I got. And I always tell my students, like, especially if you live in primary markets, look in tertiary markets, look 2 hours away, because you'll get better deals that way, number one. But number two, you'll make it virtual. It'll truly be virtual. Every single facility I've ever bought, the owners get up every day and unlock that facility and open the gates. and go to, I have one facility that we bought, the owner has like a little office, and he would get up every day and just go sit in that office all day long. I'm like, what in the hell were you doing all day long? Like, you get like 5 calls in a day. What was he doing? I have no idea. So, but his wife was like, I'm so glad you're selling this. He was working like 12-hour days. I was like, what is he doing? So anyways, but so make it virtual. So totally possible to make it virtual. So finding them, funding them, and running them is the process. Okay. All right. What's going on? Can you read the questions to me by chance? Because I'm like I'm going like fuzzy right here.
Here we go. I've got a question from Gina. Do they sign a contract that says they agree to you selling their stuff? How long do they get?
Yeah.
How long do they have to get out before they sell it?
Completely electronic. They reserve their spots online. Everything
No, I
is
mean,
reserved online.
I guess what I mean is, so the people in the storage facility, right? Your tenants, right? They don't pay, and then you're stuck with their stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's in your contract, right? That you can liquidate their items.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, definitely.
Does it matter by state?
Every state is different, but the same.
Yeah.
So just figure out the auction process for your state. Who knows with California? Y'all probably got like 5,000 rules. Who knows?
Yeah.
But find that out. Okay, good. What other questions?
And so then this from Jay. Jay's been very busy. Jay's like the co-host tonight.
Jay's like
So,
so excited about this.
I know.
I'm on it. I'm going to get me out there and go look for some storage facilities.
I'm feeling very
Be a
insecure.
storage
So,
nerd.
so the so-called hidden gems. So these are in rural centers, right? That's your tertiary.
It's not
markets.
rural centers. It's secondary and tertiary markets, depending on where you're at. Secondary or tertiary. Does not have to be rural at all.
Here's a question from Lou. How are storage facilities taxed?
Well, it depends on where you're at, what state you're in. And actually, we're looking at one right now that's in an opportunity zone, right? So, I mean, it's just really kind of like, it just really depends on what you're taxed at. But you can definitely do cost segregation with also. So keep that in mind when you buy those facilities, that you can do cost segregation as well.
I got a couple of questions from Drew. No, I got 3 now, all caps. How are expenses 30% if it's automated? Did you say your expenses were 30%?
Well, I mean, software. I mean, essentially, you have expenses, you have maintenance, you have overhead, you have software, you have utilities. It depends on if it's climate controlled or not. So there's a lot of variables in that. But just use 30% for the number. Okay?
For your storage facilities, how do you get new clients, new customers?
So this is another part of the run them. All right. So remember I said before, you are going to be buying a business. All right. So you have to run it like a business, which means that you don't want to be, in 5 years, 85% of all businesses fail, right? So small businesses or whatever, something like that. So you don't want to become that business, right? So you have to learn how to run your business, meaning that you have to learn how to market. You got to learn how to market to find tenants. All right. So that means you got to learn like SEO, Google AdWords, Facebook ads. You got to learn syndication, display ads. You got to learn how to market is what you got to do. Because guess what? People go online to find storage facilities. Or you can be like the storage facility owner that I buy from, who has, a sign in his yard. Okay.
Right. So when somebody calls your storage facility, who takes those calls?
We have like during the day, we have like an office manager that manages our office, and she takes the calls during the day. And then at 5 o'clock on the evening and weekends, we have a call center that answers the calls. We always answer our calls. Okay, so you call, and I'm going to tell you, once you start getting out there and calling storage facilities, you'll call 50 facilities and 5 of them will answer the phone. Okay, so you don't want to be that either. So we always answer our phones no matter what.
Okay, so a couple questions here from CB. How do you find storage managers? Do you train them, or you find experienced ones? How do you do that?
Well, so we didn't hire a boots on the ground person until like maybe our third facility. I think it's like a third or maybe our third or fourth facility. Now, when you buy like mismanaged facilities up front, the first couple of months, especially if you're cleaning all that out, you hire somebody to clean all that out. You figure out how to get it all out. But the boots on the ground, I mean, honestly, the truth is like, it depends on how many units. Like if you have 150 units, it's just not a lot of work. It's not a lot of work. Okay. Answering the phone, like you're going to get like 5 calls a day. The thing is that you have no idea when the phone is going to ring. It could be 8 in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. So you just got to answer the phone whenever. That's kind of the sucky part. And then you can go out. I mean, you could just, go out once a week and just check on this thing. I mean, 150 units is not a lot of work at all. Okay.
I get it.
Once you start getting more units, then you're going to add like boots on the ground people, right? And what I do is I buy in portfolios. So like our facilities are like all within 30 minutes of each other. So once I find a facility, I'm like, okay, this guy wants to sell. So like we're picking one up now in Sylvester, Georgia, which is it's like a suburb of Augusta. And so now I'm like, okay, well now I got to buy like 2 or 3 more in that area. Right. Because like one facility is, not worth as much as like 3 facilities within a 30-minute radius. So we do what we call like, we do mini portfolios is what we do. And the reason we do that is because later when we sell, we're going to sell all those as one bunch. 200 units is worth more than 50 units. You know what I'm saying? Like even as a portfolio.
Got it. So, do you have any favorite states for self-storage?
Any
states where you like to buy?
California and New York. Any state but California. No, I'm just kidding. It's just really, honestly, it's what can you afford? That's the question. What can you afford? Okay. Are you good at finding money? That's the question. Right, because in the commercial real estate world, I mean, you saw Lori, you raised $3 million. That is what it is. I mean, my coach told me 10 years ago when I got into the business, he said, if you want to make it in the world, you need to learn how to raise money because you're not a flipper. You're not a rehabber, Stacy. You're a fundraiser. So if you want to make it in this world, learn how to make money. And in the commercial real estate world, that's just how it is. You have to learn how to find money.
So, if you have a tenant who doesn't pay and you got to move their stuff. So you need boots on the ground for that, right?
Yeah, you're going to have to go out. Like if it's 50 units or 100 units, then you have to go out and, once a week and check on it. And then like, or you can hire a boots on the ground person to go do that and be like, okay, like once a day, one day a week, you just go check on the facility and I'll pay you $100 for that day or $50 for that day or something like that.
I get it. And Stacy, what's the size of units that you like to buy? What size units?
Size of units that people are buying, what they use the most is 10 by 10s and 20 by 10. So if you're talking about units, 10 by 10 or 20 by 10. Remember I told y'all got to get the lingo right too, okay? Like I don't buy storage units or I buy storage facilities. If I bought a unit, I would be like Storage Wars and Trash and Treasure and stuff like that. Yeah. All right. So like I buy storage facilities is what I buy. So if you're talking about facilities, I buy anywhere from like 50 to, actually I say 75 to like 150 is what I typically buy. Units are 10 by 10 and 20 by 10.
I got it. And in your opinion, what is the best facility management software?
We use StoreEdge is what we use, StoreEdge. But there's probably like 20 softwares out there. We use like back in the day, 5 years ago, there was not 20 softwares. Now there's like 20 softwares. But, so we just use, there was only like 3 softwares back in the day. There was like a very basic one, and then there was a medium one, and there was like a big facility one. And we're like, I knew I wasn't gonna be like super huge big facilities because that's just not how I'm not gonna be buying and owning like 600 unit facilities and stuff because I'm just too lazy for that. But the middle facilities are like, I knew that's where I would kind of be. So I just went with that one, which was StoreEdge.
I got it. Let me go back to the chat here. Lori, I think we're at the end of the questions.
Yeah, any
Awesome.
last questions before we wrap up here with Stacy?
And I have, just so everybody knows, I have a lot of free trainings. So if y'all really want to learn, like this, y'all find me on YouTube. You can go to my website, stacyrossetti.com. There's free trainings there. Podcasts. I'm doing 5 podcasts this week. So just follow me around. I'm kind of all over the place. There's a lot of free stuff.
I have a question. If you have an auction, who gets to keep the money from that auction? The owner of the stuff, the owner of the facility, someone else?
Owner of the facility. I mean, it really depends on what California, like what state law would say. But like honestly, like you're not going to make any money off of that. All right. You don't make any money off of the stuff inside the unit. Your job is to make sure the tenants pay. You want to make sure the tenants pay. So like every single unit we have, like essentially this is how it looks for our auctions. Well, actually, we have 3 or 4 different people that come to the auction, every auction that we have, and they're all thrift store owners. Okay. And so it's not like Storage Wars. All right. There ain't no like 10, 5, this, no.
Hold on.
Is we open up the door and then they look in, and I have a lot of pictures where they're like looking like this because they cannot go in. They just kind of look in like this. And then they go, $25. And I say, take it. It's yours. And that's basically 90% of all auctions. That's what happens. Every once in a while you get like a good one. You're like, oh, I made $300. Awesome. Most of the time you're not making any money. Unless you're a thrift store person. And then you're like, it's a gold mine. Oh, it's a man. It's awesome.
I remember cleaning out a hoarder's house and trying to get rid of all that stuff, and the thrift stores wouldn't even take it. So
yes. I mean, the good thing with them is that they'll come clean that stuff out. They sweep it, take a picture, let us know. I mean, we do everything virtually now. So like those people that are on like doing auctions online and stuff, I mean, they got it down. They come in, they clean that stuff up, take a picture, they're out. And because they want that's their business. That's their business.
yeah, awesome. Well, Stacy, thank you so much for your time, for staying awake. Go have a glass of wine, call it a night.
Well, it's midnight. It's a little late.
There you go. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, you guys. For letting me come hang out.
All right. Have a great
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Stacy.
Bye.